I've heard scores of stories, especially from meth addicts, where they ran out of meth and the voices would tell them where to be and when to be there to get more. And some strange guy would show up with meth. There was another guy who he would rob houses, and the voices would tell him which houses had a lot of loot and generally where it was hidden. Okay? There was
Wow.
one where they told him that he went in there to rob the house. The voices told him that the people who owned the house were up and he needed to get out because they had called the cops. So he jumped out the window and he was going to run down this alley to the left. The voices said, "Don't go down there because the cops are coming up that alley. Go around this other alley to the right." So he did that. And then they told him to jump into one of these big trash canisters and close the lid. And he did that. And a cop walked right by that, and soon as the cop was past it, the voices said, "Okay, now get up and very quietly close the lid and run." And he said, "But they're still too close." And the voices said, "That doesn't matter. Get up and run, close the lid and run." And he did. He got back to his apartment. And the voices were telling him, "Good job, good job." He said, "Well, not so good a job because I left all the loot in the trash can." They said, "No worry, get up in the morning and go get it." But the most incredible one I've heard was this one prisoner who I was working with for months. He Now he told me this story after he fully recovered. We got rid of the voices; they were gone. He was sane when he told me this story. He said he lived in San Diego. He had a big rap sheet. He'd been in trouble with the cops for scores of time. He was a drug user. He was using a lot of cocaine, and they told him that they knew where a Sesame pot field was in Oregon. And they told him to take his money, which was like $250, I think I remember at the time, and to get a machete and two burlap sacks, and that they would tell him where this pot field was. Now, he was in San Diego, and he was listening to them as to where to drive. I mean, they were like his GPS until he got to Oregon, and he went up this like 23-mile dirt road to where that road ended at the base of a mountain. So then he goes, "Okay, what now?" They say, "Well, there's a trail off to your left, a couple hundred feet. Go down to your left, you'll see the trail." So he did. He took his burlap bag. He took his machete, like the voices told him. He walked all the way up that trail for about 4 hours, and he found a massive Sesame pot field, just like the voices told him. He cut it down, filled up his sacks, went back to his car, threw it in the trunk, and he says, "Okay, what now?" The voices said, "There's a national park not far from here. You can go sell it there." So he found out there was, so he went to this national park. He started selling the marijuana. He made a lot of money. He bought all the prostitutes he could handle. He bought all the alcohol he could drink. He bought all the cocaine he could get his hands on. And he was having the life of Riley. Now, this is what threw me for a loop. He said that he went and bought a fishing rod, that the voices were fishermen and they wanted to go fishing. And I went, "Oh, now you're pulling my leg, man." He goes, "No, I'm not. This actually happened." He said they wanted to go fishing. So he said, "I bought the fishing rod. I bought the bait. They would tell me where to throw the hook, what bait to use, when to move, what holes to throw the bait in." And he said he was the only one catching fish in the river that day.
Jeez.
He was pulling them up one after the other. And so he did that for about 2 weeks, and then he ran out of money, and he said, "Okay, I got to go back up there and get some more marijuana." And the voices told him, "Nope, they're waiting for you. You go up there, they're going to kill you. They know you've been robbing their field. Take your money, go back to where you came from." So he ended up back in San Diego with more money than he started with.
And where do these people, before we get to Judy, where do we get the guy with the who was hiding with the loot in the trash can, and the guy with the cannabis fields? Where do they finally get caught up by the law when they finally disobey the voices, or do the voices eventually betray them?
Well, the voices will betray them all the time. You can't trust anything those things say. There was one patient who the voices told him they had been tormenting him mercilessly. And they told him, "If you gouge out your eye, we'll go away and we'll leave you alone forever. We won't ever bother you again." So the guy gouged out his eye, and they showed right back up. They started mocking him and laughing at him and saying, "You listen to us. Well, that shows how stupid you are. Now you're a freak." you're ugly. People won't like being around you. You're disgusting looking. And they just kept at him. Now I've heard two patients who did that, where they told them the same thing. So what's so interesting about these things? They all run the same patterns. Hallucinations don't run patterns. They run perfectly predictable, repeatable patterns. It's almost like they're all made in some cosmic cookie cutter somewhere. Because the ones when I was working on the East Coast in Georgia, the voices that the patients heard in Georgia were the same voices that the patients hear in Arizona. They were saying the same exact type of things. They were operating exactly the same. They are not hallucinations. They're running fixed, predictable patterns.
Judy, as somebody who was in it themselves, did you ever yourself experience moments where you were given clairvoyance or some kind of unknowable knowledge or anything like that, or was it mainly adversarial, just a dogfight the entire time?
It was a dogfight the entire time. I'd spent my whole lifetime studying this stuff and learning about demons and learning about classes of demons, and I deal with people who have demons. And they come in clumps, they come with assignments, they have specific jobs, they do specific things. So that woman's daughter probably has a demon that does clairvoyance. I had a guy that came to me who had a demon called chaos. Chaos worked in his mind, and he'd had it in his mind for 20 years. And I'd never heard of chaos before. That was a new one for me. But it worked in his mind, and it wouldn't allow him to think. It would tell him what to think. It would flash lights. It would flash pictures. It would create complete chaos in his mind so that he could never get his life straight. And he was an addict, because of it, because there was so much chaos. And I worked with him, and we got rid of that thing. And I said to him when we were done, I said, "So how is your mind?" And he said to me, he just smiled. He said, he goes, "It's the first time in 20 years that my mind's been quiet. It's absolutely quiet." So they have jobs, they have assignments. I call them cousins. They come in clumps. When I deal with people who are dealing with demons, they don't ever really have one. If they've got one, they've got 4 or 5. If they got 4 or 5, they might have 10, or they might have 100. And they all come to do specific things. And the ones that bothered me created fear, paranoia, anxiety, and suicide.
Yeah, they virtually all do that.
Yeah,
And there's layers of them too. They have supervisors that are watching over the lower ones. That if the lower ones aren't doing a good job, they will be sent off, and a meaner one will show up. Remember, one female patient told me, my old voice is gone. He wasn't doing a good job of messing me up, so they sent me a nastier one.